When we think about the kingdom of God, there's a very real obstacle we have to overcome. It's not just that we don't know about kingdoms. It's also not that Jesus lived a really long time ago. Instead, it's that the kingdom of God has a very real possibility of being completely meaningless in our everyday life. It's an invisible realm. There's no clear effect that it has in our world today. There's no throne we can go visit to prove that it's real. There's no castle that we live in the shadow of. There's not a king that we can go visit and talk to. There are no knights to enforce the law of the land. The kingdom of God is an upside down kingdom, but that kingdom has the very real possibility of not affecting our everyday lives. During the final trial of Jesus, Jesus stands in front of Pilate and says, "My kingdom is not of this world." Not of this world. That's a very familiar phrase to us nowadays. There's a clothing brand based off of it. And it's a phrase that we use to comfort ourselves when we look around the world and notice that it's pretty terrible. But that comfort comes at a price. Because as we take comfort in knowing that we're not of this world, we begin to forget about the disenfranchised. We forget about the oppressed. We forget about the people who are poor, who Jesus cared about most when he was here. As we use that phrase more and more to distance ourselves from the people around us and from what's happening in this world, we become so focused on proving that we're truly not of this world that we forget to see the homeless person on the side of the freeway. That we forget to care about the depressed. That we forget to take care of the people who are standing next to us. We forget that Jesus did not only come to save mankind, but that he was the example for what it meant to be truly human. And instead of just saying that Jesus' kingdom is not of this world, we also begin to say that Jesus' kingdom is not about this world. Let's take a second and go back a little bit. The story of Jesus saying, "not of this world," is a story of his trial. And in John 18:33, he's in front of Pilate. And they're talking about his kingship. Let's read this together. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked them, "So are you a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king, for this I was born, and for this I come into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." The Jews had anticipated this moment for hundreds of years. And the prophet Isaiah had written in chapter 9, verse 6 of Isaiah, "For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. The authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onward and forevermore." When Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world," he recalls this moment in Isaiah where it talks about a kingdom, a physical kingdom, where the Jews would no longer be oppressed by their rulers. Recalls what Isaiah is saying is that there will be a military victory. That's what the Jews are hearing. You see, Pilate knew how an earthly kingdom worked. Jesus knew how an earthly kingdom worked. There were only two ways that you could get in power in an earthly kingdom. The first is to inherit the kingdom, because power stays within a family. And the second is to take over the throne, killing everybody in line for the throne and then taking power for yourself. Recall Robin Hood and his stealing from the poor to give to the rich. That was a part of Robin's attempt to gain power in that kingdom, to overthrow the corrupt power and to get at the core of it, take it away and become powerful himself. That was what was expected. What was expected in Isaiah was that a man would come and take over the existing power and rule from that moment on. But when that happens, and Pilate hears that, and hears from Jesus that my kingdom is not of this world, there's something different that's happening in that moment. You see, this moment is recorded in Greek, and when it's recorded with the Greek word ek. Ek is a word in Greek that is typically translated in this sentence of. So that's where we get not of this world. That ek translated to of. But that word ek, is better translated out of or from. So the new phrase that's there is not from this world. The best way to understand this is to change the word kingdom to the word authority, so that the phrase becomes, my authority is not from this world. Jesus is not saying that my kingdom doesn't have an effect on this world. Jesus is not saying that my kingdom doesn't matter to the people who are living in this world. Jesus is saying that my kingdom, my authority, has come from something much deeper, much older than the Roman authority. Jesus is saying that I am king, yes, but I am the king of the true kingdom, of a kingdom that is greater than all of these, of a kingdom above all other kingdoms, the kingdom of kingdoms. Jesus is saying that it's not that my kingdom doesn't have an effect over this world, but that my kingdom is the only kingdom that has a lasting effect on this world. Jesus doesn't mean that my kingdom is not of this world, that my kingdom doesn't include this world. He's saying that my kingdom comes from the beginning of creation, where that power flowed through this world and created it. So that as we think about this phrase transforms from a kingdom that supposedly comes from this world and overthrows the Roman Empire. Instead, it very real becomes a kingdom that is an upside down kingdom. That is not about overthrowing the Roman Empire, but that is about inviting each and every one of us to become a part of a kingdom that is about peace and joy and love, and not about military power and might and suppressing and subduing its subjects. It is an upside down kingdom that has a very real effect on this world, even if that effect is not what we expect.